Alright guys, in today's video I'm going to show you my Aircrete Foam Generator that I built, and I'm going to demonstrate how it works, and I'm going to show you how I built it after. I made a couple of schematics on how you can build your own, and I'll have a teardown of it so you can see how I built it and what components you need to build your own. Aircrete is a up-and-coming building material. It's basically aerated concrete or cellular concrete. It's basically you infuse foam into concrete, and instead of sand and rocks, you basically expand the concrete with bubbles of foam. And what it makes is a very strong, for its weight, building material. And one of the cool things is that you can adjust the density of the concrete depending on how much foam you inject into it. Alright, so this is my foam generator that I built. I've just made a basic aluminum case for it, and when we look at it, we have just a basic air regulator for regulating the pressures into the system. We have a foam solution input right here where the pump pumps it from your bucket, and then we have the foam output where it pumps out to our wand for making the foam. I'm going to get this all hooked up. I've already got my 5 gallons of foam solution mixed up, so I'll hook that up and I'll show you what the wand looks like that I made. Alright, so this is my foam wand that I made. It's a real simple design. All it is 1¼ PVC with a 1-inch cap glued into the end and a hole drilled in it. The other end is just a standard 1/2-inch push fitting and just some 1/2-inch nylon hose. Presses in, locks down. Now the inside of this, there's nothing complex to it. Basically it's filled with 6 of these Scotch-Brite pot scrubbers. They're stainless steel, and I basically just filled it from one end to the other so that this gives the air and the foam something to resist against, and all the tiny little holes through the scrubber cause the bubbles to form. It's a very simple process. You can build this at home for just a few dollars from Home Depot. It's not anything with a bunch of fittings and stuff you have to figure out. It's basically just have to drill and tap for one fitting on the end and drill a hole in a cap on the other, and basically just glue the parts together. Alright, I'm going to hook this up and we'll show you how it works. Alright, so when I get to turning the machine on, I just wanted to show you real quick. This is the foam concentrate that I'm using today. It's about a 45 to 50 to 1 mix is what they recommend. This is from a company called Richway. They are a company that actually makes cellular concrete or aerated concrete machines, and they teach people how to do it. This concentrate was specifically made for making Aircrete. That's one of the reasons I'm trying it today. I've tried some of the others. I've tried the 7th generation. I've tried Drexel. I've had decent results with both of them, but I'm kind of excited today to see how this does, since this is a commercially made product specifically for aerated concrete. So I'm going to crank this thing up and we'll see how it does. Okay, here you can see I've got everything hooked up. I've got my foam solution in the bucket, and I got my line coming down, going into the pump, and then my outgoing line coming out, going out to my foam wand. I've got my air hooked up, and I've got my pressure. I'm going to start at about 60 to 65 psi is what I've been having the best luck with some of the other foaming agents with this generator that I've built. So, alright, I'm going to start it up and we'll see how it does. Okay, I've got everything ready, so I'm going to crank this thing up and we'll see what kind of foam this new Richway solution makes. Alright, here we go. Alright, what we're looking for is really small bubbles. Really dense, small bubbles. Those seem to be what holds up the best in Aircrete. And this is doing really good. I'm going to fill up a 5-gallon bucket and see how it does over the next couple hours. Alright, you can see that it's making amazing foam. This is actually a lot smaller, denser bubbles than I'm used to getting with the Drexel, which is the best I've used so far. I'm going to turn it back on so we can see how it's coming out. Alright, I'm going to turn it off now since we filled up the 55-gallon drum. So this is pretty amazing foam. This is the first time I've had foam with bubbles this small. This is some amazing stuff here. The Drexel has been the best that I've used so far, but this is far superior, and it makes a lot more foam per volume than the Drexel does. This is a 55-gallon drum, plus I already made some, filled up the 5-gallon bucket, and so more than 55 gallons of foam just produced, and I still have so I still have a gallon and a half left of concentrate. Each one of those big lines is a gallon. So I've used 1, 2, 3.5 gallons. So a gallon and a half of concentrates left, and I've already made 55 gallons of foam. And usually with most of the other ones, I've only been able to make about right around 55 gallons drum full with a full 5-gallon bucket of foam solution. So this is encouraging not only the lesser amount of foam used, but the quality of this foam is amazing. I'm gonna let it sit outside here for the next couple hours, and I'm gonna see how it does. I've done some tests before with Drexel and 7th generation, and they did okay, but after about an hour and a half, they pretty much totally collapsed. So I'm kind of excited to see how this foam does over the next couple hours. Because basically the main thing that you want is for the foam to hold up long enough mixed into the concrete so that the concrete can harden. If it starts to break down and collapse before the concrete's hardened, then your Aircrete really does start to collapse as well. So I'm excited about this. I'll shoot some more video here in a couple hours, and after I'll check it at an hour and then in a couple hours and see how it's done.
All right, while we're waiting for the foam to cure outside, let's go inside and I'll tear the foam generator apart, and we can take a look on the inside, and I'll show you how I built it. All right, so let's look inside and I'll show you the components that make up this foam generator. Pull off the lid here, and we look down inside, and the main component that you're going to see here is the pump. This is a SureFlow pump that puts out 90 psi and 1.6 gallons per minute. You can find these on eBay. That's where I found this one. I'll try and zoom in here so you can see the model number. And there it is. So that's the model number. And if you search that on eBay, usually you can find them new or used for really good prices. And you should be able to see the specs right there. It's just a basic switch on the back, and that comes in. You can see that I just wired 110 volts and split the hot lead to the motor, and that just goes to the switch. I also wired in an air solenoid. You can see the two red wires going to it right there. You can get these on eBay for about $10, and all it is an air fitting on one end, screwing onto a barb that you put to your hose. And all this really does is I wired it into the same switch so that when you turn the switch on, it pumps water through the pump as well as air through the solenoid at the same time. That way you produce foam simultaneously without having to turn valves or turn anything else on as far as air. On the front here you'll see that basically I did a little modification to a standard air regulator. I'll show that from the front. All it is just a regular cheapy air regulator that you can get at Home Depot. You can see I have an air in fitting. I have my regulator adjustment knob, and then I have the pressure gauge on top. All I really did was take the regulator and I put a fitting in the top, and then I soldered a copper tube up to another fitting so that my gauge could come out facing the same way as the regulator knob that adjusts the pressure. You can actually buy ones that have the fitting already coming out the front, and that would have been a lot easier, but I happen to have this one in the garage, so that's what I used. And then I just put a 90-degree out the side to come out the front, and that's my air inlet fitting. As you can see, there's nothing complex about this system. It's really just electricity in, powering the pump with an on-off switch, That on-off switch controls the pump and the airflow through that solenoid. And then we have just a air regulator to regulate the pressure coming into the system. And basically all you really are doing is bringing concentrate in from your bucket into the pump, and then the pump pumps it out at a higher pressure, and then it combines with the air in a Y fitting. And I'll show you the Y fitting that I made. Basically I built this because I couldn't find one locally. They had T fittings, but I didn't want a T because that would make the two pressures fight against each other. So I basically just took a 1/2 inch compression fitting and soldered in two barbs, one for water and one for air. So it comes out of the pump, comes down this line with the water, and then air comes in this way. I kind of angled it into it, that way it would have a Venturi effect and help push the water concentrate out and help it swirl into foam. The only other fitting that I have is this hose, and this one is just where the foam concentrate comes in from the bucket, goes in, and this is the fitting that goes into the pump. Same thing on the other end. This is the fitting coming out of the pump right here. I'm gonna put it all together and you'll see it assembled inside the case. Okay, so you can see that I have the stainless push fittings bolted in through the front to the lines. You can see that I have hooked up the lines going from water in down here on that push fitting, goes around, goes into the pump right there, comes out of the pump, loops up, comes back out, and goes to my Y fitting. You can see it coming in underneath. That is the water fitting going in, and then out of the air line you can see air coming in. This is your solenoid. Once that is activated by electricity, when the pump kicks on, you can see air comes out, goes into the Y fitting also, where the two of them mix together, come out the front, out of this, which is your foam, out to your foam wand. You can see there's a front view of the face. Okay, so that's pretty much it for the interior of the foam generator. I will also link up a copy of the schematic that I'm posting up here right now, and you can download it off of my Dropbox account. That way you have it, that way you can have a nice simple diagram of how this thing is put together, because when you look at it from the top with this, it sometimes can be kind of confusing with all the tubes and wires and stuff. Anyway, let's go back outside and we'll take a look and see. It's been an hour since the foam has been in the buckets, so we'll go see how much it's progressed since then. Also, if there's anything in this design that you don't understand, or you have any questions about any components or anything about the generator, go ahead and leave a question in the comments and I'll answer it right up.
Okay, this is after 1 hour, and I have to say I'm pretty impressed. The 55-gallon drum has lost not much at all. Pulled away from the edges around the top, but pretty much still full, which compared to the other foaming agents I've used, this is much higher quality. That's my 1 hour timer that I had set for checking. 5-gallon bucket. It's lost maybe, I wouldn't even say 10%, maybe 8% of its volume, and usually I can see water down at the bottom, and There's hardly any water at the very bottom of the bucket. I can just barely make out maybe 1/8 of an inch, 1/4 inch if I tilt it. That's pretty amazing for a breakdown for Aircrete foam. Have to say I'm pretty impressed. I'm going to check it again at 2 hours. Okay, here we are after 2 hours. And there looks to be about, probably about 35% of the foam in the 5-gallon bucket has collapsed. But still doing pretty good. And here is the $55-gallon drum, and I would say it's about the same, maybe a little bit better in the bigger drum here. Maybe 35% of this is gone. It is kind of windy today, so that has kind of had an effect on it, I think. I think it holds up better when it's not windy. Anyway, it's pretty encouraging. I'm going to try this in some Aircrete and see how it does. Alright guys, that's it for the Aircrete Foam Generator video. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you got something out of this. It's not a hard generator to build. You don't have to build your own aluminum box like I did. You can just use like an old toolbox or whatever you have that you can mount the pump and the regulator and stuff inside in. This wasn't a hard build. I'm going to put up a schematic link so that the one you saw in the video, you can download it yourself. That way you'll have it. I hope you enjoyed this. If you want to see more videos about Aircrete and things like that, I've got a bunch more coming. So hit the subscribe button and hit the like button if you liked it, and hit the bell if you want to be notified when new videos come out. All right, and I'll see you on the next video. Thanks, guys.